Welcome back to Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for a transition stage in La Vuelta a España from Rueda to Huijuelo, 162 kilometers long. Has no categorized climbs. It has maybe some crosswinds, but I think Joao Almeida will be happy that on stage 8 and today the wind wasn't that strong. We do go through Salamanca though, which very exposed areas as we're getting towards Extremadura, where Bola del Mundo will be tomorrow. But the final of this stage is like gradual uphill, then a very fast descent until 5Ks to go on a big highway. Then the final 2Ks is 3%, big road. The last, it just is consistent. It's not as hard as the stage David Gaudu won. It is more an uphill, a genuine uphill sprint. We are on a plateau. It's to over 1,000 meters. So, anyway, before the stage, not much news of note, frankly. I think
we're riding a full sprint stage today, no shortening. So,
we full stage. I mean, I don't think anyone lives in this area, so that makes it easier, I guess.
Would we have cared if it only was the last 20 kilometers?
Yeah, because there was some funny stuff in this stage. Like we do have a bonus sprint of 6:4 and 2 seconds. There is a little bit of crosswind nervousness, but otherwise, yes, not too much of note. A genuine transition stage, which normally goes the way of the breakaway. But as we said yesterday, so many teams want this sprint. Alpecin for Philipsen, Trek for Pedersen, even Movistar happy for Aular to take third or fourth. Lotto for Viviani. Ineos for Turner, who's already won an uphill sprint. Too many strong teams motivated for a sprint today, and that's why the break formation was very unusual for a week 3 transition stage.
And part of the reason why they're so fanatic about wanting a sprint stage, not just because they have a sprinter, it's also because they have a sprinter in a race with so little sprint stages to begin with. And that adds an extra layer of really wanting this one to become a sprint at the end. And we see that in break formation on the tickers, because we see a couple of attacks, but starts to look like it's going to get neutralized every larger move that goes, and eventually we get a breakaway of a single rider, Jakob Otruba, who was a pretty talented rider back in the day, if I recall correctly, when he rode for Elkov back in the day, but now he's on Caja Rural, and he was vibing solo all day, controlled by... When I was watching in the first spot of the race, because I won't lie, I didn't watch every single kilometer of the broadcast of sprint stage today, I'm confessing, but whenever I was watching the control phase of, the breakaway being controlled by the peloton, I didn't see little Trek controlling, I saw Alpecin and Lotto controlling, which, in some degree, I was a little bit surprised. Does that make sense? Because when I look at the profile, I see, a parkour that maybe Miss Pedersen will be pretty hyped about, especially Lotto helping, I was surprised about. On one end, they've got a sprinter that has gotten the podium in this race, but it's also not like the repeatability of that result is super high either. So I didn't necessarily see that for Lotto today.
And uphill, he just doesn't have the level anymore.
Yep.
Like on a really easy stage where positioning matters, the lead out was perfect. Like on the other stage where he came second or got relegated, Viviani can maybe be competitive against this field. Uphill, no way. Like he just doesn't have the level anymore, and that seemed to be the case. He just couldn't compete in this sprint in the end. But yeah,
and the reason he was competitive last time wasn't necessarily because of his level, was because of the level of his lead out in the first place, because his lead out was super powerful in that relatively technical final last time. There's no technical final here, there's an uphill final, so I just did not see that working out for the team. But breakaway rider in control, and is it right to say that nothing happens until the glorious intermediate sprint, Patrick?
So Otruba's at 1 minute. We have an intermediate. There was no one else in the break, right?
Correct.
So there weren't 2 other guys in the break that got caught just before. It was one guy.
Yeah.
The whole time.
Yeah.
Okay, so everyone knows there's 4 seconds maximum available at the intermediate sprint. And we see Visma line it up. It is narrower as they get into the town. No UAE in sight. And basically Jorgensen starts the lead out. Tullet's following, expecting maybe UAE. Tullet just drops the wheel. Koos dropped the wheel. Pedersen looks over. Pedersen opens his sprint. He was also deep. And in the end, he just lets Vingegaard take the 4 seconds. Vingegaard had to basically turn the pedals just to keep the speed. He didn't even have to sprint fully
off
Jorgensen's lead out. and he takes back almost half the deficit Almeida took on him in the TT yesterday.
It is crazy to me that UAE was so unprepared at this intermediate sprint because there's literally bonus seconds available. It's a Vuelta where GC is still relatively close. We're talking about less than 50 seconds in GC. And that matters. That matters because Bola del Mundo is coming tomorrow. And it can be about seconds if Jonas Vingegaard's in trouble on the final climb. So that's why even at an intermediate sprint here, it's important to be in position and be ready for that. And it looked like we saw the UAE Team Emirates team on the left bottom of the screen desperately trying to make something work just before the sprint started, but that's way too late. So either that's a team car issue, or the riders themselves that couldn't get organized in time are knowing that there's an intermediate sprint coming up, but it's inattentiveness, and it's not the only time in this race it happens, because, first of all, to be clear, Vingegaard takes 4 seconds. Go ahead.
They shouldn't even be sprint. Let's say Almeida doesn't want to get involved. Fair enough. Yeah. It's not his forte. Ivo Oliveira. I mean, to Bjerg lead out for Oliveira and Ayuso, you're going to beat Vingegaard in a flash sprint.
Yep. I agree. So Oliveira should have been used to take away bonus seconds from Jonas Vingegaard is the proposal you have, and I agree with that, to be honest. And the outcome is that Pedersen takes about 13 green jersey points, which is kind of irrelevant because green's basically his. But next to that, we've got Jonas Vingegaard taking 4 seconds back in GC. So after this stage, he has a total of, am I right in saying 44 seconds behind?
Yeah, he increases his lead on Almeida by 10%.
Yep. So 44 seconds is now the gap. It's not an absolute disaster, but it's a sign of inattentiveness when it's not necessary. And another example of that is with about roughly 30 kilometers to go. We're on this false flat uphill segment, pretty wide road, pretty open area around it. And Alpes and the Konings at the front, and they hammer it at a certain point, kind of creating some kind of echelon of the front. And we see maybe 7-8 riders of the front, including Jonas Vingegaard as well. And UAE once again missing out on this echelon. In doing so, getting to the front of the second groups in the peloton and trying to hammer it to get back to Jonas Vingegaard. 2 times in this stage, Patrick, where echelons happened. Well, where echelons happened, where they were inattentive, Almeida and co.
And I think probably they were right to be in the end. I mean, the wind forecast wasn't that strong, and in the end, there wasn't any echelon action. It's been a shame. Like this stage and stage 8 was specifically designed for echelons, and if there had been, and there normally is, like especially on stage 8. If there had been wind, it would have been carnage. With the speeds, because if you have a highway 3% downhill with a 25k an hour cross tailwind, the bunch will just explode. And but the wind wasn't strong enough mostly today. Unfortunately, it probably would have been safer. In the end, there weren't any crashes, thankfully, but this definitely could have been an echelon stage. That doesn't happen. Jay Vine does like a death pool to bring back Almeida, and then everyone kind of rides side by side. There's a few washing machines. Ineos go over Van Baarle. Van Baarle gets shuffled back. He comes back with Vingegaard over the top, and there's just like a bit of a washing machine. We get to the descent with 8Ks to go, very, very fast. Ineos put it in a line. Movistar with Garcia Cortina put it in a line, and we never see Alpecin ever. I never saw anyone from Alpecin, basically, and they were saving energy in this phase. There's then we get to like 3Ks to go.
Yeah,
we go into a dipper, and I disagree with Ineos' order here. They go Kwiatkowski first, then Ganna into the dipper. I think Kwiatkowski's the better last man pilot than Ganna, and I think they should have used Ganna first there on the dipper. Also because there's no way with those two plus Turner, you're going to make it into the last K. I think they should have done Ganna and then Kwiatkowski pilots Turner onto the Alpecin train or someone else's train.
I think with current Ganna, I agree with you.
Yes,
with
that's
peak
my
Ganna,
caveat.
I'm not so sure about that. Because with peak Ganna, he could literally do a lead out for a kilometer.
Peak Ganna, he was competing for wins in these sort of stages.
Yeah, that is true, but that's not the level he's at right now, and I somewhat agree with you there, but maybe they weren't anticipating Alpecin to be as strong. Maybe when they pulled it in a line, Patrick, with UAE and with Ineos and Movistar doing so, pulling it in a line in that descent and on the next uphill segment, it looked like Bernal was trying to make it harder. Do you think their theory was, okay, let's try and make it harder and put Alpecin in trouble on these small hills, or do you think they never believed in that?
Yeah, I think it's if Jonas Ricard has to move up in the wind on 3-4%, you're cooking him. And Alpecin have the best pure lead out here, and Jasper Philipsen, he's faster than Ben Turner. Straight up, he is just faster than Ben Turner. So you have to adjust it in some way, make him be out of position, make him burn his legs before the actual sprint starts. That doesn't happen because Ineos finish and we see it like 900 to go. We see Ricard, and the way Alpecin have done it has been really smart. They use Ricard before Plancart. Now, previously, Ricard in the Tour de France, say, when Philipsen won green in many stages, Ricard was before Van der Poel, but actually in like a Brugge de Panne without Van der Poel, he'd be last man. They reverse it. They use Plancart last. They use Ricard as the big bully, big bully to guide them through. And then Plancart just does the final lead out. And also Plancart is going to be fresher than Ricard after a kick like this. Like go back and watch the stage Pedersen won ahead of Van Aert, the uphill kick in the Giro this year. Who did the first 600 meters uphill? It was Plancart. I lost my train of thought. Yeah, Ricard comes, Plancart goes, Philipsen's on the wheel. Turner has to restart his sprint to get onto their train. Pedersen's not really on a wheel. He's then trying to get out from being boxed on the barrier. He moves left. Pedersen opens his sprint when Philipsen's still in the draft. Turner's opening his sprint when Philipsen hasn't even opened. Philipsen opens to the barrier, puts Turner already on 3 bike lengths. Pedersen's already been in the wind for 5 seconds, and Philipsen, of course, you have to have the legs as well, and he had a very strong sprint, but yeah, this was clinical by Alpecin. Literally no one else stood a chance.
That's true, and we come towards stage 20 tomorrow with 3 stage wins of Jasper Philipsen, potentially a 4th one coming on stage 21, which ranks up a pretty good season, starting off with Kuurne-Brussel-Kuurne victory in the opening weekend. Yes, the main classics like Paris-Roubaix did not end with the same result that he had in the past, the podium in that race. I think he got just outside of the top 10, if I recall. But then going to the Tour de France, getting that victory in the yellow jersey on stage 1, but crashing out a couple days later. That was a downside to the Tour de France, but he couldn't do much about that. That crash was out of his reach, out of his control, in my opinion. Then he comes back to La Vuelta, delivers a victory on stage 1, takes the red jersey, delivers 2 more stage victories in the process, will perhaps take his 4th, like I said, on stage 21. That's a pretty damn perfect season for Jasper Philipsen, I would say, despite being dethroned as the top sprinter in the last 2 years. Because now he's 3rd in my list of the sprinting order, Merlier, Milan, and Jasper Philipsen, but he keeps on delivering the victories. And I do think it matters and it helps that he's got that extra classic angle that I believe Milan does not yet have as much. And especially Merlier as well has always been on the brink of like being a classic sprinter. But Philipsen is better at classics than Merlier is, you know?
And Philipsen looks better than Milan in Grand Tour recovery. I mean, I know Milan won stage 17 of the Tour de France. But yeah, his versatility is better. Philipsen, like, this has been a hard Vuelta for a sprinter. He's been getting dropped early, and he's a good climber. And he had a very, very strong uphill sprint today. I mean, yeah, as you say, his season this year, he's now on still only 6 victories. Wow.
But big ones.
But big ones. Tour and three Vuelta stages and Kuurne. But yeah, he did have a lean period, I would say, until... Yeah, it was just not the number of wins he's expected to win, but that's because Merlier more goes to like Alula wins 3, wins a lot more frequently.
But about his lead out, we've got Plancart here who's leaving to Quickstep. Ricard, I assume, is staying.
Yeah, he's staying.
Robert Gijs is leaving as well. I feel like there's been a lot of talk on the internet about, okay, the Alpecin lead out is disappearing. Will Jasper Philipsen have a lead out next year? Can I be honest? Is it me or am I not worried at all? Because we both know, you and I, that the Roodhof network will just dig up another Uruk-hai from the depths of Isengard that will suddenly be a great lead out, and they'll show up and they'll have a lead out that works. I'm not worried about that, actually.
I think let's what's his lead out look like? Okay. Caden Groves. You can still have Caden Groves as last man. Caden Groves, Ricard, Van der Poel in the Tour. Then you have a setup of I don't know. The stringer can do that sort of thing. Senna Romain.
Yeah, try and check here for a second.
What the concern is, it's not as deep. So I think their Tour de France peak lead out can still be absolutely cracked. But then you need Groves and Van der Poel. I think their general lead out will be weaker. But we haven't seen who they've signed yet. And yeah, maybe Senna Romain, Senna Ascensions. Has he been called up yet? No, he hasn't officially.
He hasn't. But like, Ricard is arguably staying. Thibaut Del Grosso might end up in a lead out at a certain point in the bigger races when he's also in the classics. Like in the classic sprints, he's going to be part of the team probably. But the lead out wise, I'm not necessarily for sitting out. I'm not sure either. But then Henry Ulich, if he stays, could be part of that team. They'll find someone. I'm really not worried here.
85 kilos, 1 meter 91, and he won Gent Wevelgem, baby U23 Gent Wevelgem. And Paris-Roubaix top 20. Get him in. So, but I think the lead out that's kind of being overrated right now is the Olav Koy one. I know this is weekly show territory, but like,
invading in the weekly show.
I mean,
I'll accept it. I'll allow it.
Kees Bol Dan Holle, Robbie Gijs. It's not Edward Planka, Ricard, or Affini.
So, to be clear, we're talking about Olav Koy, who's been announced as a new rider for the Decathlon AG2R in 2026 and onwards. And together with him, we've got Tobias Lund Andresen, Kees Bol, Dan Holle, and Robbie Gijs. Robbie Gijs comes from Alpecin. Tobias Lund Andresen has done a couple of lead-outs for a Jacobsen and a Bittner and the other way around, but
he's too good to be a lead-out.
I don't see him as a lead-out. I see him as a versatile sprinter type. That's how I perceive Tobias Lund Andresen. Then Dan Holle, I think, is a solid setup man. I think you can work with Dan Holle as a setup man, but he's not
in the Vuelta?
The last three riders. Well,
Sorry. You mean 10Ks to go?
Yeah, I mean the setup man before the lead out, not for the rider, not for the sprinter.
But I'm and this was a package deal because, and we're not just making that up. Decathlon did a tagged collab post with the agent of all of these riders who share the same agent on Instagram.
And I'll be honest, whenever I see a package deal from an agent, that's when I know that the transfer is not always perfectly aligned with the best possible outcome for the rider that is hosted as the main package. Because if your transfer has to come with other riders included, then that doesn't mean that those riders included are the best possible combination. I look at this and I see Kees Bol's done a couple of solid leadouts in his life, but on average, I'm not super confident. And I think it's more that whenever you build a new lead out like this, it takes time. You can't expect this lead out to come together in the first half of next season to have victories left and right. That being said, we're also talking about Olav Koy, who was led out by Matthew Brennan twice in the last couple of weeks, and Brennan was cycling backwards in those lead outs.
And Olav Koy, who very rarely had a proper lead out.
Yeah.
And just having a dedicated lead out to him.
And the one time that he had a proper lead out, he looked shit and still won in the final stage of the Giro.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and there actually might be some truth in that, in that Koy's a different type of sprinter to Philipsen, and needs different things. But it's, Alpecin have been working with Ricard and Philipsen for years, for 4 or 5 years together. And I think the best leader that changed team this year is Plancart. I know he fucked up one stage here, but ultimately he is really a class leader, man.
I think so as well, and I wonder then what the reasoning was for the departure and how Alpecin lost Edward Plancart, whether he wanted to have a new place, because I'd be surprised if it's the money with Quickstep, or am I stuck in the Patrick Lefevre old days?
I mean, they may have more money than Alpecin. Alpecin have right now.
Sponsor leaving, no? Or was it being replaced?
They have 18 confirmed riders right now.
Is it me or was the Koenig leaving?
Maybe this year, I don't know.
I think so. And there was a replacement, I'm not sure which.
But yeah, it could be money. But yeah, anyway, we got onto lead-outs. We just wanted to give Plancard his props. Him and Plancard and Ricard, very, very good lead-outs for the most part in 3 of the 4, or 3.5 of the 4 Vuelta sprints. Mads Pedersen second, or Luis Aular takes another podium spot in a Grand Tour. That's his 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th Grand Tour podium sprint this year, and maybe 10 top 10s, maybe 12. So racking up the points from All-Star, they love them. Jente Biermans is a good uphill sprinter after an easy stage. For Arkea, he takes 4th, good sprint. 5th, Ben Turner. Then Arne Marit, Fabio Christensen 7th, Ethan Vernon 8th, Thibaut Gruel 9th, and Jordan Labrosse 10th.
Wow, congratulations. He got 9.
Thank you,
How many
Benji.
points in your Vela Games team are you going to get from that?
I'll check later.
5?
No, quite a lot, actually.
My wife keeps yapping about her Vela Games team because she's had like 70% of the stage winners in her team. It's actually painful.
I'm in the top 0.5%.
What did I tell you again where she was? Was she like top 20 of the 90 or of the 16,000 at some point? Insane.
Where am I?
She's doing better than I do. Well, I'm not competing, so.
Without today's results, I'm 112th. No free ads, but...
Of how many?
16,682.
Not bad, eh?
Yeah, just put in Jay Vine.
And that's with like 2 of your team members being dog shit.
That's with Giulio Ciccone's butt falling off, so...
And Thibaut Gruel not delivering to the high
no,
anticipations that you set for him.
Par acceptable. Torsten Tran's been unbelievable. Anyway, I think us discussing my torrid Velo games is probably indication of what this, not much happened in the stage. I mean, a bit nervous for Almeida. Vingegaard now goes into the final GC stage, 44 seconds ahead of Almeida, 2:43 ahead of Pidcock. So we have the battle Vingegaard-Almeida, 44 seconds. We then have the battle between Pidcock and Hindley for the podium, which is 39 seconds.
It's over for Pidcock, I'm sorry.
You think?
It's going to be close, but I've got a feeling about tomorrow. I look at tomorrow, I see Bola del Mundo. I've got flashbacks from Passo Fedaya. I think Hindley's about to cook something up tomorrow.
So on the Angliru, Hindley took on him with the bonies. 16 plus 24.
But Hindley's better now.
Like today. 50 seconds. So Hindley took the margin he needed on Angliru. That was a 200k stage with a very hard finish.
This one's shorter. To be clear, we need to talk about the profile specifically. We've got 4 categorized climbs, 2 of which are in the fast 30 kilometers, which can be break formation material, which is 6k at 6%, 9k at 4%, whatever. There's 2 more climbs roughly in the middle of the stage with a valley in between. There's about... The second last climb is the Puerto de la Vacerada, is about 7 kilometers at 7.5%. This is where 40 kilometers roughly before the start of the final climb, which is Bola del Mundo, which is 12.4 kilometers at 8.6%. And the last 5 kilometers are on average 13%. So those last 5 kilometers is where the actual boom can happen, or with about 7k to go from the finish, there's also a kilometer that is 10-ish% average. So if someone wants to try early, that's an option, or make it hard, that will already be a portion where they can do it. But it's all about the last 3k and surviving in that. It's not as hard as Angliru, but it's still very hard.
It goes up to higher altitude. It's a hard... The difference to me is the run into Angliru is very hard. You do Mosqueta, descent, short valley, Caudal, which is 15 minutes, very steep, and then descent straight into Angliru. So I know it's got the same amount of climbing, But is the 9K 4% climb at the start of the stage really going to make the difference? And then from the top of Navacerrada, first time, it's 40Ks. On the other hand, I think this is a much better climb for UAE to make it hard, the final climb, than Moradero. Because Moradero basically started with a wall, and like Ayuso, Vine, Großschartner, they're not Riccatellos. Like as you can see from the TT of Vine yesterday, they got some meat on them. So on 8%, tomorrow, it's much better for them to make it hard than on a Moradero where it was just a wall straight away. But 3K is 12% to 2,200 meters. Almeida doesn't have to go at the bottom, right?
No.
It's 44 seconds.
I wouldn't be comfortable waiting for the last 3 kilometers either. It's really... Because we're talking about still 44 seconds, you know?
Yeah.
You got to drop him and you got to gap him. So I kind of feel like 7K to go might be the way to go. But then...
What's happening there?
10% kilometer in there.
Yeah, steep K.
But then you got to be able to still rock on that same tempo in the same way Joao Almeida usually does. And if he has the legs of 2 days ago, it won't happen anyway. The legs of El Moradero.
Yeah, because like Vingegaard, he might have got dropped by Hindley and Pidcock, but he put time into Almeida. And I also think
Red Bull.
I also think their level yesterday in the TT, Almeida and Vingegaard, was pretty much a wash. Like, I know Almeida took time, but when you factor in the weight difference, I don't see a huge level difference there. And I agree with you. I think the podium battle will dictate actually what happens, because Red Bull have the last best domestique. He's better than Koos, except for on Angliru, so maybe not tomorrow, but on Moradero, he was better than Koos. And he's better than any Großschartner and Vine, Pellizzari. So they will have the last domestique to dictate what to do. Do they play Pellizzari early?
Because he's a minute 40 only behind on Pidcock.
It's not that far.
Yeah.
Is Pidcock really going to chill?
But if they play Pellizzari early, who's going to make the tempo for Pellizzari to be able to attack off and the group that he attacks from to only be leaders?
No, I think UAE will pace. Almeida might try once, and then it will stop, and then Broe will then start to dictate the race halfway up.
Now, hear me out. I think UAE should send 2 riders in the breakaway.
That's not a good idea.
Mikel Bjerg to pace the valley between Navacerrada and Bola del Mundo, and Soler to drop back on the final climb if the break makes it there. But you're going to have to put a shock collar on Soler to make sure he doesn't keep riding.
So risky with Soler.
Yeah, but he needs... who
Benji.
else?
They said they put him in the break the other day on the Castro de Ervil stage as a potential satellite. When he was racing, did it look like someone conserving energy to be a satellite rider?
But Patrick, that's why the shock collar matters.
I think...
Soler has had a few solid satellite rider roles in the past in his life.
Stage 15, Tour de France 2023. He was good.
Forgot which one that was, but you're right.
The one that Wout Poels dropped Wout van Aert on.
Yeah.
And Van Aert continued for second, and actually it was Soler that waited, and Van Aert didn't wait. And then Poggi let Yates go start attacking.
So, the plan is, Bjerg and Soler go in the breakaway. On Puerto Navacerrada, Oliveira paces the first 2 kilometers, whatever he can manage. Perhaps even have Soler keep the break in check throughout the stage to make sure there's potential of a stage victory in there for the peloton. So bonus seconds are up for grabs, whatever, if Almeida's good enough. Because all of the strategy depends on Almeida being good enough
Almeida
anyway.
has to drop Vingegaard.
So, because if he can't do that, then who cares if Vingegaard takes the bonus seconds again? So, I wouldn't mind Oliveira pacing to keep the breakaway in check if that's remotely possible, but I would put Novak and Ayuso to pace on Navacerrada, to make the race a bit harder there. Over the top, Bjerre comes back from the breakaway, paces the valley, and then the foot of the last climb is being paced by Soler and Vine. Soler, who also comes from the breakaway, and then Almeida attacks with 7 kilometers to go, because I don't think it's possible to attack with 3 kilometers to go and take the 44 seconds.
You don't think?
The difference between the two is not big enough so far in this race that I believe that's possible.
Yeah, I mean, Almeida hasn't dropped Vingegaard yet. That's the reality.
Correct.
One time. So, we'll see. But still, before the race, if you said to Almeida and UAE, you're going to go into the final stage, 44 seconds behind Vingegaard, with 7 stage wins, they would take this situation going into tomorrow every time, because you're still in with a chance to win it and anything can happen.
Yeah.
So, but
they could have been 40 seconds behind if they didn't fuck up the intermediate sprint today.
Yeah. Could have been 20 seconds behind if the TT was the full length.
Yeah. Hey, but that's out of the control of the rider, so...
Yeah, I'm just saying it's been a very strange Vuelta. What's your pick for tomorrow?
My pick for tomorrow is... Jai Hindley from the peloton.
Yeah, it's a good finish for him. Well, I'm going for Vingegaard.
Okay. Let's bring this Vuelta home.
Yeah, I think it's and I think he needs, if he wins the stage and drops everybody, then it shows the rider won.
If he drops tomorrow and still wins by 5 seconons or something.
Oh.
Do we talk about
that would actually maybe he should do that. Because then matching the UAE they'll get criticized a lot.
They will.
Imagine he loses by 3 seconds and it's from the intermediate today.
Could have been from anywhere throughout the race then, to be honest. There's multiple moments.
So many different things happen, but if Almeida drops Vingegaard, I actually think if he drops him, then
drops him.
He drops him, yeah. So we'll see. Alrighty, thanks for listening as always. We've got a big GC day tomorrow. We've got Canada style on now, and until the recap of Bola del Mundo tomorrow, ciao ciao.